Alright, this is an original Tales First story, and honestly, this one took a turn I did not expect. Alright, let's get into it.
My parents said, "We are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." Then they kicked me and my 5-year-old out in the middle of a snowstorm. 3 hours later, there was a knock at their door. They opened it and started screaming. If you're wondering how orange juice turned into homelessness, same. It was 10:45 p.m., the kind of late where the house was asleep and quiet, and the snow outside was doing that aggressive sideways thing like it had a personal vendetta. My daughter Zoe couldn't sleep. Not, cute toddler can't sleep. She was 5. She had opinions now. She had questions. She had the emotional range of a tiny CEO who just discovered corporate betrayal. "I don't like the wind," she whispered, eyes shiny in the dark. "It's just weather," I whispered back, like that was comforting, as if weather ever listened to logic. I scooped her up and carried her down the hallway because waking up my parents at night was like poking a bear and then acting surprised when it mauled you. The house was tense even when it was quiet. It was that kind of quiet that didn't feel peaceful. It felt like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for someone, me, to mess up. I tried to be careful. I tried to do everything right. I tried to be invisible. We made it to the kitchen. I flipped on the smallest light, just enough to see. I moved like a thief in my own house. I poured Zoe a small cup of orange juice because it was the one thing that usually made her settle. It felt like a tiny, harmless solution. Lights on equals problem, footsteps on the stairs, a door opening upstairs. A sigh, heavy with disgust, like I'd committed a crime by needing air. Mom appeared at the top of the stairs, her voice sharp and tired in that special way that meant it wasn't about the moment, it was about me. "What are you doing?" Zoe couldn't sleep, I said quietly. "I'm just—" My sister Savannah appeared too, hair messy, face already irritated like she'd been woken from a life of luxury by peasants. Savannah was 17, which is old enough to know better and young enough to think the world owed her silence. She squinted at Zoe like Zoe was a bug on her shoe. "Are you kidding me?" Savannah hissed. "I have school. Some of us actually have plans." I apologized automatically because that was the family religion. Apologize first, explain never. "I'm sorry," I said. "We'll be quick." Savannah stepped farther into the kitchen, arms folded, and said, very calmly, like she'd rehearsed it, "Can you please just keep it down? It's late." Zoe's hands were small and clumsy, shaking. She reached for the cup. Her fingers slipped. The cup tipped. Orange juice spilled onto the carpet. One beat of silence. Just one. My brain instantly went into fix-it mode. Towels. Paper towels. Something. Anything. It's juice. It's not acid. It's not blood. It's not... Dad's footsteps hit the stairs hard enough to make them creak. Mom gasped like the house had been stabbed. Savannah went cold and disgusted. "Are you serious?" I dropped to my knees with towels. "It's okay. It's fine. I'll fix it," I said, talking fast, talking small, like if I made myself tiny enough the moment wouldn't hurt us. Zoe's lip trembled. "I'm sorry. It's okay," I whispered. "Baby, it's okay." Dad moved like he'd been waiting for this, like he'd been sitting there his whole life, waiting for orange juice to give him permission. "I'm done," he said. "I'm done with this." Mom backed him immediately. "This house is not a daycare. We are sick of your mess." "I'll clean it," I said. "It was an accident. She's 5. Savannah added fuel like she always did. "She can't even control her own kid." Dad's eyes fixed on Zoe for half a second. Not like she was a child, like she was evidence. Then he said it. All of it. In one clean hit. Like the sentence had been living on his tongue for years. "We are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back." For a second, My brain just stalled. Because what do you do with that? What do you do when someone says your child is a mistake like it's a fact? Like it's a stain? I stared at them from the floor, towels in my hands, orange juice soaking into the carpet like a crime scene. Dad, my voice sounded far away. It's snowing. It's a storm. Where are we supposed to? I don't care, he said. Mom didn't look at me. She looked at the carpet. Like the carpet was the victim. I kept thinking, they don't mean it. They'll cool down. Any second now someone will stop this. Any second now Mom will sigh and say, fine, just tonight. Any second now Dad will come to his senses. Nobody stopped it. Dad grabbed bags like he'd practiced this in his head, like there was a checklist and he'd finally gotten to use it. Mom yanked Zoe's coat off a hook and shoved it toward me like evidence. As Dad shoved a bag at me, he twisted the house key off my key ring. He curled it in his fist and said, "These aren't yours anymore." I felt the air leave my lungs. "Just let us stay tonight," I said. "Please. I'll sleep in the car in the driveway. You will not," Savannah said, voice tight. "You're not staying here." Mom didn't look at me. Savannah watched. Too calm. Too satisfied. Dad opened the door, cold punched in like a fist. Snow blew sideways into the hallway. Zoe whimpered and pressed into my side. They pushed us out like we were trash that needed taking out before morning. The door shut. The lock clicked. It wasn't the shouting that broke me. It was that small, final sound. Zoe started crying right away. Full body, shaking sobs. She looked at the orange stain on her sleeve and whispered, "I'm sorry. It's my fault." I crouched down, wiping her cheeks with my thumbs, trying not to fall apart right there on the porch. "No," I told her. "No. Never your fault. Do you hear me? Never." Inside my head, panic screamed, "I have no plan. I have no one. I have a child." The porch light glared down on us like we were on stage. I hauled the bags to my cheap car, my one tiny piece of independence, and got Zoe buckled in. My hands were shaking so badly I fumbled the latch. Phone battery low. Bank account basically a joke. The kind of money that disappears the second you look at it. I searched my brain for names to call. It was late. Storming. Everyone I knew had warm homes they didn't want to complicate. So I started the car, because sitting still felt like dying. I aimed for the nearest place that meant lights and heat, cheap motel, 24-hour diner, anywhere that wouldn't ask questions and wouldn't kick us out for being too sad. The road was slick. Snow was coming down hard. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle. Zoe sniffled in the back seat. "Where are we going?" I answered too bright, because mothers lie to keep the world from collapsing. "An adventure," I said. Zoe didn't laugh. I was so focused on keeping the car straight that I didn't see the other headlights until an intersection. Ice. A blur. Another car slid. The impact hit hard enough to steal the air from my lungs. Zoe screamed. One sharp sound. And then it cracked into sobbing. The world narrowed to one thing. Her. I twisted around, hands shaking, scanning her face, her arms, her legs. "Talk to me, baby," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Look at me. Are you hurt? Where do you hurt?" She shook her head hard, crying. "I'm scared." I scanned again anyway. Her cheeks, her hands, her coat. No blood. Nothing obvious. Just fear, loud and real. A woman approached through the snow, steady, controlled, not panicking. She looked in my back seat, saw Zoe's tear-streaked face, saw the bags, saw the whole picture. She didn't bark at me. She didn't accuse me. She didn't even seem angry. She asked quietly, "Why are you out in this weather with a 5-year-old?" I tried to lie, then couldn't. "We got kicked out," I heard myself say. "Tonight." Her face changed like she'd been slapped by the sentence. "What's your name?" she asked. "Clara," I said. Her eyes flicked to my face like she was checking it against a memory she didn't want to be right. Then she said very quietly, like she was talking to herself, "Clara Walker." I froze. "I haven't seen you since what? You were in my—" She stopped herself. "Where did you go?" How did she know my last name? I learned early that my role in the house wasn't daughter. It was buffer. Savannah cried, my parents soothed. I achieved, my parents nodded and moved on. If Savannah was upset, the universe stopped. If I was upset, I was told to be mature. I learned to shrink because taking up space always cost me. I didn't know why they needed a villain in the family until the year I got pregnant. Before that, I had a path. A real one. Sophomore year, I got into a selective state university future scholars research mentorship program for high-performing high school students. It wasn't a sit in a lecture and clap politely program. It was real work. Every Saturday, a small group of us met on campus and worked on a project. Data collection, presentations, reports. The whole "this could be your life someday" thing. And built into it was the part that made me feel like a person with a future. A weekly one-on-one mentor meeting. 15 minutes that felt like oxygen. Someone who asked me what I wanted, not what I'd done wrong. I kept one thing from that program. One small thing. I didn't know it would come back when everything fell apart. It was my future scholar's badge on a blue lanyard. I never wore it again, but I never threw it away. Back then, I thought my life was finally opening. Then I fell for Brendan. Brendan was sweet when it was easy and distant when it got real. He made me feel chosen after living in a house where I was mostly tolerated. So yes, I fell hard. Like a cliché. Like a girl who'd been starving for affection and mistook attention for love. When I found out I was pregnant, my first thought wasn't fear. It was, I can still do this. I can still finish school, still do the program, still be me. I was 15 at the time. Brendan was 17. He promised he'd be there, then stopped replying. Later I found out that he moved away for college, to Europe. I haven't heard much from him since. I thought the hardest part would be telling my parents. I was wrong. I told them in the kitchen, hands shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. There was a pause, just long enough for hope to flicker. Then my mother's face changed first. Not anger, disgust. My father didn't ask if I was okay. He asked who knew. They didn't say, "How can we help?" They said things like, "Do you know what people will think? You embarrassed us. You threw your future away." Savannah watched like it was entertainment. Like this proved something she'd always believed about me. I expected punishment. I didn't expect erasure. They decided I wouldn't go back to school for a while. Then it became homeschool. Then it became, you're not going back at all. They said it was to avoid gossip, to keep the family respected, to not parade my shame around. Like my body was a billboard and my baby was a scandal. They pushed me to drop the mentorship program immediately. No more Saturdays, no more meetings, no more future. I tried to fight it. I tried to bargain. I tried, just let me finish the semester. My father said something like, "If you weren't smart enough to avoid getting pregnant, you're not smart enough for college." And that was that. The program moved on without me. I stopped showing up. I stopped answering calls. The worst part is, I didn't even get to say goodbye. Zoe was born, and I loved her so fiercely it scared me. But in that house, love didn't protect you. It just gave them another target. My parents treated Zoe like noise, mess, inconvenience. Never fully cruel in public, always cruel in private. Savannah got a normal teen life. Sleepovers, school, friends. I got exhaustion and reminders that I owed my parents for letting me stay. I promised my daughter she was never a mistake. And then, 5 years later, she spilled orange juice. Back in the car, my mouth was still open with a question I couldn't ask. Zoe's voice came small behind me. "Mommy, are we going home?" My hands locked around the steering wheel like it could fix things. "We're going somewhere warm," I said, because that's what you say when you don't have a home and your kid is 5. Outside my window, the woman didn't look angry. She looked alert, like she was already scanning for the next thing that could go wrong. She leaned just enough so Zoe could see her face. Then her eyes flicked over Zoe, seatbelt, cheeks, hands, quick, checking, not lingering, and she looked at me. "Is she hurt?" "No," I said too fast. "I don't think so. She's just scared." Zoe made a small broken sound that confirmed it. The woman nodded once. "Okay." My heart was still trying to climb out of my chest. Snow hissed across the glass. "I'm sorry," I blurted. "I didn't see you. I was—" She cut through it like she'd heard panic before. "It's a bumper," she said. "Don't worry about it." I stared at her. Most people worry about bumpers. Entire neighborhood feuds have started over less. "I hit you," I said, because my brain needed reality acknowledged. Needed someone to be mad so the world made sense. "You misjudged in a storm," she corrected. "That happens." Then, like she was changing channels. "How old is she?" 5. Her expression tightened. Not at me. Not at the dent. At the 5. She looked at Zoe again. "Hi, sweetheart. What's your name?" Zoe hesitated. Looked at me like she was asking if we were allowed to speak. "Zoe," I said for her. "Her name is Zoe." The woman nodded. "Hi, Zoe. I'm Simona." Then she looked back at me. "Clara, where were you headed?" "A motel," I said, and it sounded pathetic the second it left my mouth. "And after that?" she asked. My throat tightened. "I don't know." She didn't judge me. She didn't pity me. She just waited, like she could tell the truth was right there and she didn't need to chase it. I swallowed. My voice came out small. "My parents kicked us out," I said. "Tonight?" Something shifted in her face. Not surprise. More like anger deciding where to land. "In this weather?" she asked, voice quiet. I nodded once. Zoe made a small whimper behind me, like she understood enough to be scared. Simona exhaled through her nose. Then she said very calmly, like she'd made a decision that didn't require my permission. "Okay. You're not driving anywhere else tonight." "I have to," I said automatically. I don't have—" "I heard you," she said. "You don't have anywhere. That's why you're not driving." She stepped back from my window and pointed toward a small parking lot nearby. "Hazards on," she said. "Pull into that lot. Slow. I'll follow you." I wanted to argue. My pride tried to sit up like it still had rights. But Zoe whispered, "Mommy," and my pride sat back down immediately. I flicked my hazards on. I eased the car forward and into the lot with the delicacy of someone defusing a bomb. Simona parked behind me. She got out, took 2 quick photos of the bumpers and the intersection, then tucked her phone away like she'd just filed the dent into a drawer labeled later. I got out too, and the cold hit hard enough to steal my breath. "I'm really sorry," I said again, because I guess I'm committed to this brand. "It's fine," she said, eyes already on Zoe through the glass. "Is her car seat secure?" "Yes." "Good." Then she looked at me. "Do you have your keys?" "My car key," I said. "Yeah. My house key. No, he took it." Her jaw tightened slightly. "Okay." She didn't say more. She walked to her back door, opened it, and pulled out a blanket. Not as a dramatic prop. Just matter of fact. Like she kept one because life happens. She spread the blanket across the back seat and opened the door. "Hey," she said softly. "Come sit here. We're getting warm." Zoe stared at her, then checked my face. I nodded. "It's okay, baby. She climbed in, coat clutched tight, and her breathing finally slowed. I grabbed our bags from my car. My fingers fumbled the zipper. I dropped one bag because of course I did. Simona picked it up and handed it to me without making it a moment. "Lock your car," she said. I did. That click felt too small for the night we were living. And then I slid into the front seat of Simona's car, heart still trying to climb out of my throat. As we drove, my brain tried to catch up. It finally remembered the thing she'd said at the crash. Quiet. Exact. "Walker?" I didn't ask. Zoe was right behind us, listening. And I couldn't risk the answer being something she'd carry. Simona drove in calm silence for a minute, then asked, "Do you have any friends you can call?" I stared at the dashboard. "No." No explanation. No excuses. Just no. She nodded once. "Okay." That word again. Okay. Like it was a fact, not a failure. We pulled up to a modest house with warm lights. Nothing flashy. Nothing cold. Just stable. Inside, heat wrapped around us so suddenly my eyes stung. Zoe sagged under the blanket the moment the door shut, like her body had been holding itself together on pure fear. Simona disappeared for 30 seconds and came back with thick socks and a mug of hot chocolate that smelled like it had actual effort in it. Zoe blinked up at her. "Are you nice?" she asked, because 5-year-olds have no filter. Simona paused like she was choosing her words carefully. "I'm trying," she said. "Is that okay?" Zoe looked at me. I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, baby." Simona turned to me. "Sit." I sat on the edge of the couch, still in my coat, still braced for yelling that never came. The house was quiet. Soft lamps, books, a neat stack of mail, one coat on a hook, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel like a trap. My hands wouldn't stop trembling, so I opened my bag just to give them something to do, and the blue Future Scholars lanyard peeked out. My face went hot. Of course I still had it. Like some embarrassing little souvenir from the life I didn't get to live. I shoved it down fast, like hiding it would hide the fact that I used to be someone with a plan. Simona's eyes flicked to it anyway. She didn't say anything, but she went still. Just for a beat. Then she stepped into the light by the kitchen doorway, and my brain finally did the thing it should have done earlier. Her posture, her voice, the way she looked at me like I mattered. My stomach dropped. "No," I whispered. Her expression softened. Sadness, maybe. Or relief. Or both. "It's me," she said quietly. "Dr. Carr." The room tilted. Dr. Simona Carr. My mentor. 5 years ago. The one adult who'd looked at me like I had a future instead of a flaw. Zoe yawned and slid sideways against the couch cushion, too tired to notice my entire brain combusting. Dr. Carr kept her voice low. "Where did you go?" I tried to make it small. "Life happened." She waited. Not pressure. Space. And the truth came out in rough pieces. Pregnant at 15, pulled out of school, homeschool. No diploma, no program, no goodbye. Years stuck. Tonight's lockout. I waited for the look, the disgust, the disappointment. It didn't come. She nodded once, slow, then asked, "What's still in that house that you need?" "My wallet," I said automatically. "Zoe's school papers." I stopped, because my brain finally caught up. "My EpiPen," I said. "Shellfish allergy." I tried to shrug it off like it wasn't a big deal, like I wasn't one cross-contamination away from a nightmare. Dr. Carr didn't let me. "No," she said, quiet and absolute. "We're not gambling with that." "I'm not going back there." "Of course you don't," she said. "We'll get what you need." She slid a notepad toward me. "Essentials. Now." My pen moved. EpiPen. Wallet. Zoe's school papers. Anything with our names on it. Dr. Carr called non-emergency. I caught fragments. Lockout. Minor child. Emergency medication. Civil standby. Avoid confrontation. Then my phone lit up. Dad. Then Mom. I stared at the screen for half a second too long. Dr. Carr stayed close, silent. I answered. Hello? My dad shouted immediately. What did you do? We had police at our door in the middle of the night. Mom cut in, furious. How dare you call police on your own parents? Do you know how this looks? My throat tightened. The old reflex, apologize, shrink, tried to climb up my spine. I looked at Zoe, curled up on the couch, finally asleep. I called because I needed my EpiPen, I said. That's it, Dad scoffed. Always a story. I'm hanging up, I said. They talked over each other, louder, uglier. I hit end. Click. Later, an officer brought back the essentials, my EpiPen, my wallet, Zoe's forms, and took a brief statement. What happened? Are we safe? Is Zoe safe? When the door closed again, the quiet finally felt different. Not the quiet before punishment, the quiet after survival. Dr. Carr didn't praise me, didn't lecture me. She just asked, Are you hungry? It was so normal it almost broke me. Later, after Zoe was tucked under a blanket and my EpiPen was placed somewhere I could grab fast, I said, because politeness is my default even when my life is on fire. Thank you. We'll find somewhere tomorrow. Dr. Carr looked at Zoe, then at me. You can stay here, she said. Not pity, not a suggestion, a fact. For tonight? I whispered. She shook her head once. Until you're stable. Until you're safe. Zoe's eyes fluttered open, like she'd been listening from the edge of sleep. Can we stay? She whispered. And the scariest part was this. I still didn't know why she was doing it. Why she was so nice to us. I only knew what it felt like to imagine morning without fear. The next morning was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the calm after a fire. Everything still smells like smoke, even if the flames are gone. Zoe slept on Dr. Carr's couch like she'd earned it. I didn't. I sat upright, fully dressed, staring at my phone like it might bite. No calls, no texts, no screaming. The silence was suspicious. Dr. Carr slid a mug of coffee toward me like it was medicine. Not comforting, functional. She sat across from me. Where do you work? Grocery store, I said. Stocking. Mornings. And you're scheduled today? I missed it. She didn't blink. We'll call. We. That word landed like a door unlocking. She put the phone on speaker so I couldn't hide from my own life. I explained. Weather, accident, emergency. I can come tomorrow. My manager grumbled, but the shift stayed mine. When the call ended, my shoulders dropped a fraction. Zoe wandered in, rubbing her eyes. She looked around like she expected the room to vanish. Are we still here? She asked. Yeah, baby. I kissed her forehead. We're still here. Zoe nodded. Then, are they still mad? I almost told the truth. That my parents didn't have mad settings, they had permanent disappointment settings. Instead, I said, we're safe. Zoe accepted that like kids do, like safety is a fact you can hold on to. After I dropped Zoe at school, I came back and stood in Dr. Carr's kitchen like a person waiting to be yelled at. She glanced at me. You don't have to wear that face here. What face? The one that says you're bracing. I laughed once. It came out rough. Old habit. She nodded like she understood old habits too well. Then she said, matter of fact, you never finished school. My stomach tightened. No. GED? She asked. No. She didn't ask why. She didn't lecture. She just looked at me and said, do you want to finish? The question hit like a slap because I'd spent years believing I didn't get to want things anymore. I work, I said automatically. Zoe, she's in school, Dr. Carr said. And you're smart. That was, I started. 5 years ago, she finished. Not 50. I hated that she was right. She slid a notepad across the table. Not a motivational quote. A plan. 2 hours a night, she said. 4 nights a week. We start small. We don't negotiate with shame. I stared at the notepad like it might explode. And if I fail? I asked. Then you take it again, she said, like gravity was optional. That was the moment it stopped feeling cozy. It felt like rebellion. Not dramatic rebellion. Quiet rebellion. The kind that looks like a grown woman opening a math book and refusing to believe the voice that says she's too late. My schedule became ridiculous on purpose. Work early mornings, Zoe's school drop-off, study at Dr. Carr's table while Zoe colored beside me, dinner, bath, Zoe's bedtime. Then another hour with a book I'd been told I didn't deserve. Some nights I wanted to quit. Not because it was hard, because it made me angry. Angry that my parents stole my education and called it discipline. Angry that I had to rebuild what should have been mine the first time. The first time I passed a GED practice test, Zoe cheered like I'd won a championship. "Mom is smart," she announced. I snorted. "Mom is stubborn." When I passed the real test, I cried in my car in a parking lot like a person with excellent emotional regulation. Zoe asked why I was crying, and I told her, "Happy." And she said, "Oh," like happy crying was normal. Then community college. Because tuition doesn't care about inspirational stories. I kept my job. I took classes when I could. I learned to live in the space between not enough time and do it anyway. Dr. Carr didn't rescue me with speeches. She showed up with logistics. A ride when my car wouldn't start. Babysitting when Zoe got sick and I had an exam. A calm email when a professor acted like accommodations were a moral failure. I didn't become fearless. I became practiced. Then I transferred back to State University. Walking onto campus felt like stepping into an alternate timeline, one where I hadn't been erased. And there, on a random weekday, I saw the building where future scholars used to meet. My stomach flipped so hard it felt like the past had hands. Dr. Carr didn't say anything. She just walked beside me. Student-parent life on campus was brutal. Everyone acted like you could be a perfect student if you just managed your time, as if time management includes materializing childcare from thin air. I met other student moms in quiet panic, always apologizing, always one emergency away from dropping out. So I started helping. Small at first. A group chat, shared notes, babysitting swaps, a list of who can you call at midnight. Dr. Carr watched it grow and one night slid an envelope across her table. "Funding opportunity," she said. "Write a proposal." I stared. "I'm not qualified." She lifted an eyebrow. "You're living it. That's more qualified than most." So I wrote it. We got the grant. Then another. The first time a mom told me, this kept me enrolled. I went to the bathroom and cried for exactly 30 seconds, because I still had a shift to work. Somewhere in that year, Dr. Carr's kindness started to feel less like charity and more like choice. Zoe's drawings appeared on her fridge. Snacks Zoe liked were always in the pantry. A small toothbrush in the upstairs bathroom that hadn't been there at first. One night, Zoe fell asleep on the couch with homework on her lap. Dr. Carr covered her with a blanket and stood there for a beat too long. The question slipped out before I could swallow it. "Why are you doing this?" Dr. Carr didn't look at me right away. She watched Zoe breathe. "I thought I had time," she said quietly. I waited. "I kept postponing the family part," she added. "Career. Tenure. Later. And then, later didn't show up." Her voice stayed controlled. Her hand didn't. "This house has been quiet for a long time," she said. I didn't know what to do with that honesty, so I made it a little lighter. "So, we're your loud little invasion." Her mouth twitched. "Something like that." Then she looked at me and said the part I'll never forget. "I chose you. Not because I needed a project, because no child should grow up believing she's a mistake. My throat closed. I nodded because I still didn't know how to accept something good without apologizing for it. By the time graduation came, Zoe was 10, old enough to remember the storm like a scar. And Savannah was graduating too. Same university, same ceremony. My parents were there for her. Of course they were. I saw them before they saw me and felt something old try to rise, an instinct to shrink. It didn't win. The announcer's voice rolled through the auditorium. Please welcome our student speaker and founder of the Student Parent Support Initiative, Clara Walker. I stepped into the light. Savannah was clapping, then her hands froze midair. 2 rows behind her, my mom's face drained so fast it looked unreal. My dad leaned forward, staring like his eyes could undo time. I reached the podium and adjusted the mic. Good evening, I said. I'm Clara Walker. I'm a graduate. And I'm a mom. Zoe sat near the front with Dr. Carr, staring up at me like she was holding me steady. When Zoe was 5, I said, my parents looked at me and said, we are done raising your mistake. Get out and never come back. The room went dead quiet. Heads turned, subtle at first, then sharper, toward the section where my parents sat frozen. My mom covered her mouth. My dad's hands clenched together until his knuckles went white. Savannah stared hard at her lap like it might swallow her. They took my house key, I continued, voice level. They pushed a couple bags into my arms. They shut the door while it was snowing sideways. I didn't need to embellish it. The truth carried itself. I sat in my car with a child asking me if we were going home, I said. And I had to answer like a mother even when I felt like a scared kid myself. You could feel the room change. People weren't politely listening anymore. They were there. And that same night, I got into a minor car accident, I said. Nobody was hurt. But I remember thinking, of course. A few uneasy laughs, because pain plus timing is comedy's darker cousin. The woman who got out of the other car didn't care about the bumper, I said. She asked me one question. Where are you going? I paused. I said, I don't know. Silence. Heavy. Real. She took us home, I said. She gave us a home. I turned toward the front row. That woman is Dr. Simona Carr. Applause hit fast. Dr. Carr didn't stand. She just nodded once, eyes bright. That's why this initiative exists, I said. Because being smart doesn't matter if you don't have childcare. Ambition doesn't matter if one sick day can knock you out of school, and nobody should have to choose between feeding their kid and finishing a degree. I let it land. If someone has ever called you a mistake, I finished, voice steady, they were wrong. I stepped back from the mic. The applause rose, stronger now, not polite anymore. My mom was crying openly. My dad stared straight ahead like the floor had shifted. Savannah still couldn't lift her hands to clap. For the first time in my life, they didn't get to control the story. Afterward, they found me. Of course they did. Tears. Apologies. The sudden, desperate need to rewrite history into something softer. I didn't raise my voice. I forgive you, I told them, because I didn't want poison in my body forever. But I'm not coming back. They tried family is family. I looked at Zoe, then at Dr. Carr. No, I said quietly. Family is who shows up. And I walked away. Not angry, not triumphant, just done. Because my life wasn't a punishment anymore. It was mine. Everyone loves to say, but they're your parents, until they're the ones getting thrown out in a snowstorm. I forgave them. I just didn't hand them access to my life. Reconnect or no contact. What would you choose? Comment below. And subscribe if you want more.